Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Ben from ShouldIGetIt.com. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to shoot photos at the Venice canals in Los Angeles, California. I'm going to be showing you how to do it with one camera, one lens, one tripod, and one polarizing filter. Now you could even do this with a pretty cheap camera and a kit lens, and you can get some really awesome results using the tips I'm going to share with you here. One of the most important tips I think I'm going to share with you today is how to get people out of your photos at a very crowded tourist location. This technique can be done at a lot of places. So let's hop into that right now. Now we are in Lightroom and I'm going to show you guys how to edit and put together your images in order to get rid of these people here on the sidewalk. It's actually not too difficult. The main idea is you want to get 3 shots from the same exact spot with the same settings on a tripod and then put them together using layer masks in Photoshop. So as you can see, I already went through and edited this photo. If you want to know how to edit landscapes, I have a video which is linked in the description about how to edit in Lightroom. And what I'm going to do is go to the next image and hit previous, and that will apply my same edits, and I'm going to do that again. So now I have 3 different images, and I have 3 just in case if I need to mask out from multiple spots on the right if they overlap. And then I also have this couple in 3 different sitting positions, and I don't know which one I want to pick yet. So what I'm going to do is go into my grid, select all, right click, and edit in open as layers in Photoshop. Now this might take a minute to open, and once it does, you will have 3 or however many image layers in your file here in Photoshop. And the first thing I want to do is align them so when we layer mask, it doesn't look all messed up. So what I'm going to do is turn down the opacity on the top layer, and I want to see this guardrail lined up. You can see that it's ghosting, which means the images are not perfectly lined up. Maybe the bridge shook or something like that when I was taking the photo. So we're just going to move it around until it perfectly lines up. And yes, it does. The only thing moving now is the guy. It's pretty much lined up. And then what we can do is turn the layer opacity down on the second layer. You can see that one's not even close to in line with the first layer. So we're going to bring it up here, and now we are good. Golden. Okay, perfect. And now this one I need to redo. And now we have 3 layers all aligned. Awesome. So we'll probably have to crop in a little bit because there's now a tiny bit of transparent on the bottom. So anyways, what we're going to do is figure out which people on the bridge I want, because I want to keep these guys here. And so I actually like this one, so keep people. I'm just going to name the layer that. And then what we're going to do is apply a layer mask by hitting the layer mask button, choosing a black brush, and simply brushing on this gentleman here. You can see that fence sign lined up perfectly, and he's gone. It was that easy. We literally just did a layer mask. That's because in this image, he's there. Now you'll see when we brush out this image, this guy's going to show up, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is then go to this bottom layer and erase him from there. And now you can see we just have transparency, so we need to fill that up. And the way we're going to do that is grab the third layer, which was on top. We're just going to bring it to the bottom, and boom, now we are set. So that's tip number 1. Be patient, shoot multiple shots, and then you can edit out the people from your photos. Now the second thing, also be patient when you're shooting photos on the bridge or with people walking by, because if you're doing something from a tripod or a longer exposure, the camera shakes a lot when people are walking on these little wooden bridges, so make sure you take photos when people aren't walking and keep your feet very still. So you want to hit the shutter button and have the camera on a self-timer for minimal shake. That's what I always recommend, or use the Wi-Fi app or an intervalometer tool, but you don't want to touch the camera right when it takes a long exposure. You want a timer so the camera can stop doing those little tiny shakes and get the sharpest image possible. That brings me to my third tip. Shoot long exposures at the Venice canals, especially if you're there later in the day. That way you can get that silky smooth kind of like clear glass water effect, and you can also get beautiful colors and a lot of detail late at night. So you can see right here I shot some of the lights reflecting from this house, and this was a pretty long exposure, and you can see that the photo came out very well lit even at a low ISO because of that long exposure. Now you might think long exposure, my lens has vibration control or image stabilization, I want that on. False. You want to turn off image stabilization or vibration control. That is for when you are handheld. If you're on a tripod, you want this off, because what might happen is the motor in your lens might might think that it's moving a little bit and actually shake the camera more than it would on the tripod and cause your image to have a little bit of motion blur. So you want to turn off vibration compensation. Now the other thing is focusing, especially at night. It is a little bit difficult to focus. So what I always recommend for car photos or for landscapes is put the camera on manual focus and then use live view and zoom in as much as you can and manually focus to get it as sharp as possible. You'll see that this is super helpful, especially when you're on a tripod, and that way you can make sure your images are 100% crispy, because especially when it gets dark, some cameras, the autofocus just total poop. The other thing is try multiple angles. So you guys can see I took like 3 or 4 different shots here of these red and blue boats. I absolutely love them, and I actually like the side shot way more than I like the shot with the entire canal in it. Keep in mind, landscapes are great wide, but you can also zoom in and you can see that changes the image a lot here. Also, let's add a color grade somewhere in there so that it looks a lot better in video form. And also look for the reflection. So when you have a polarizer, you can turn it, as you guys can see the example right here, and you can control it to have either more or less reflections on the water. And so the polarizer gives you a lot of nice control there, and it also darkens the image coming into your sensor a little bit, so you can do a longer exposure without waiting for it to be as dark. So be patient, turn off your vibration control, shoot from a tripod, and don't forget you can shoot in vertical and use the bridge as framing. And also, if you're shooting from a tripod, especially from the center of the canal, bring it up as tall as possible and then have it point down and zoom out so you can get as much of the image as you can. And the last thing is shoot at night. So as you can see right here, I waited and I filmed a little time lapse for you guys while I was waiting for the sun to set, and that way I could get the reflections off the water. Now this brings me back to the tip of making sure that you look at different compositions, because shooting straight on, the reflections don't really hit the water much. And so what I had to do for this house with the Christmas lights on top is move to the right side, and that way I could get all the reflections of the Christmas lights and the house as well. And the houses during daylight look pretty cool shooting straight on and getting this very just kind of straight, almost flat looking image. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great trip to the Venice canals. If you shoot there and post it on Instagram, tag me at BenReversonPhotography. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Have any questions, leave them in a comment below or DM me. Make sure to subscribe for a new video next Tuesday at 10 a.m. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey Google, turn off my lights. Good night. Hope you guys enjoy. Peace.